Monday and welcome to Reality Bang. I'm RJ Johan, your host for the session, and thank you for tuning in. That said, if you guys want to contribute to our topics, have any questions, or just want to tell us what an amazing job we are doing, you can reach out to us at 6364252164. So, for this edition of the Reality Bang, let's talk about from analog to AI, like the of technology in creativity. And of course, we had to have Johan here with us.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to be back. It's been what, 2 weeks since we both have done something together?
Yeah, quite a while actually.
Yeah, been quite a while. So yeah, it's good to be back. Yeah.
So let's jump right into it. So my very first question is now, how did the transition from analog to digital technologies in the 1980s, impact music, visual art, and of course entertainment?
I wanted to actually, when these questions were there, were set up, I actually wanted to talk about even like earlier, like 70s and 60s and all of that. But then I
Yeah.
feel like that would have been too long, to cover. Those are too many things to cover. So I just thought let's just stick to, the past 3-4 decades. It
Hmm.
really like the word technology sort of a thing really it evolves every single decade, but at least in today's world, what when we say technology, all the sorts of things that people can relate to, a lot of that started from the 80s. So
Hmm.
especially the biggest influence in that was the music, uh,
Yeah.
because you had like one of the things that started in the 80s was something called MIDI. For the I forgot the some music interface digital or something. I forgot the entire full form of it, but it's basically digitally, you can record, you can, when you have like an instrument, it can be a keyboard, it can be a drum pad or anything. You play the
Hmm.
note and it digitally somewhat, it's somewhat, it's like a program sort of a thing. So whichever DAW software that you've that you have that it's going through, so whichever note that you're playing, that note, so it sort of codes, that this is note has been played for this long. So you can eventually, if you've played, let's say, like a piano note, you can turn that into a synth. You can do
Hmm.
all those sort of things. So in EDM and hip hop today, you can see a lot of people do use MIDI. and
Hmm.
uh, and the use of synth, that because MIDI came into the 80s, a lot of people started using synth, which is why synth music became a thing in the 80s. And to the point, there is something, synth music is something that we all know. And if you actually look at the 80s music, you can hear a lot of synth music in all of them, actually. Even
Yeah.
Stranger Things, right? Like
Hmm.
if anyone has seen the show, the main theme song itself has a lot of synth music, and a lot of the background music, they use synth music. It's like an homage to the 80s. So
Yeah.
you can see them using it in movies and music and all sorts of like entertainment. So in 80s, also like using MP3 players, like Walkman was a big deal in the
Hmm.
80s. So so from the world where people were listening to like LPs and vinyl records to having cassettes, like the fact that someone can make their own playlist, all these sorts of things were so interesting. It was complete, now it seems old, but at that time obviously it was something, some next level technology for them. But I also feel like, for us, obviously, because we were born far later, it almost seems old for us. But
Yeah.
I feel like there might be like, just like how in the 90s when internet came, a lot of musicians, sort of did not like the fact that music was out there for free. I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure. And now, but like later on, the generation who grew through the internet, for them it wasn't, they didn't look at it that way. I think the same thing might have happened even like in the 80s, right? Like for someone, who was not used to this sort of thing, they grew up listening to, let's say, something like rock music back
Hmm.
in the 60s and 70s. I'm sure for them also it would have been very difficult to, listen to something like this that is becoming a big deal and is becoming the next big thing in music. So I think just like in every single like decade, I think 80s also had that. So
Hmm.
it's these small uh, innovations that just came in, that was a big deal.
Yeah. Now, how did the rise of the internet in the 1990s like influence distribution, promotion, audience engagement across like music, art, and entertainment?
The So that's the thing, the biggest thing internet did, which became an advantage but then also became a massive disadvantage was creating a network, right? Like you
Mhm.
can be from any part of the world, and because of internet there's like a network that has been created. The advantage in this is you have let's say, so in a world like internet where music is out there for free, let's just put it, let's just bring to that topic.
Mhm.
A musician definitely will someone before the internet era who have worked really hard to make music, and making money through LPs, through CDs was like a little bit of that profit that they were getting, because in general musicians don't get paid. And
Mhm.
so through series was one of the was one of the ways through which they were getting some money. Now here there is a world which is existing now where everything that they're putting effort for is completely free, and
Mhm.
obviously it's going to get them angry because this is something they're not used to, this is the first time. But the biggest advantage at the same time is there is more reach.
Mhm.
There are people from another different countries probably who would be listening to the music, and if it wasn't on internet, I don't think people would have known such sort of a music existed. Like, I think even you can take for us also, like the sort
Mhm.
lot of movies, lot of music that we are discovered. If it wasn't for the internet, it would have been beyond impossible for any of us to know such sort of a thing existed, right? So
Mhm.
one of the sad part is I think it did blur that sort of a blur that sort of a line between the kind of effort that you have put out uh, to what sort of a reach that it can bring. I think the fact that more people know your music,
Mhm.
I think that was then if it, that is something that didn't really impact them as much as probably like a bunch of CDs would have sold. I think that would have impacted them a lot more, which is
Mhm.
very unique compared to today's world where like if the number of streams, right? Like how many
Mhm.
streams a song makes, that is almost it's not money obviously, but for like a musician that is almost like it's like a count of a money sort of a thing. It's like almost like when you do something and you're like you've earned this much money. Today's
Mhm.
musicians, when they see their music up on Spotify, these many people listen, the fact that they're getting 1 million streams also, it is huge for them. It's almost like they made that much money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it broke that sort of a thing. And the I think the world of television also, it had a
Mhm.
huge impact on that, because a lot of the things that were coming on television, like a lot of the things that were going on in movies, a lot of the, let's say, like the behind the scenes that are going on in movies, right? And a
Mhm.
lot of people didn't know before the internet. And the
Mhm.
moment internet came, people started spreading out these sort of sort of news. So it became a world where information was gathering, but then at the same time it became a world where rumor also started spreading, because
Mhm.
negativity spreads much easier, quicker than positivity. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
that's how it is in internet. So
Mhm.
I think yeah, I think the fact that you had to pay and watch and watch a movie, comparing
Mhm.
to that to just clicking one download, and boom, you have one the movie. Lot again, like it really upsets people, but then think of
Mhm.
it like a CD. Like we grew up like watching movies in CDs, right? We have the
Mhm.
DVD player is still in my house, although we don't use it. I remember like like the CD when it has those scratches, right? And
Mhm.
yeah, you try playing that in the DVD player. That when that more plays in that
Yeah.
part of the movie, it just glitches.
Yeah. Exactly.
The movie completely stops, right? And
Mhm.
yeah, obviously the CD got scratched, so that is there. But when you're down, but when there is, you have a digital copy uh, of the movie where you have it in your laptop, you're not gonna
Mhm.
face that problem at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there was a lot of filmmakers also do not like the fact that their music was out there, in pirated softwares
Mhm.
for free. But then there are some filmmakers, like the Hindi filmmaker Anurag Kashyap, right? He has spoken
Mhm.
about this. The first movie, due to some reasons, the first movie that he ever made, due to some reasons, it did not. They did not release that movie out in theaters, but
Mhm.
but everyone watched it in pirated and through all of them got like through pirated soft websites and everything. A lot of them ended up getting the movie like that. So
Hmm.
people ended up watching the movie like that instead of because it didn't go to the theaters. And today it's like a cult film, the movie that he has done. So
Hmm.
he has openly spoken about the fact that a lot of people have ended up watching his movies that way, and he it doesn't bother him, because in the end of the day there is some sort of reach that has happened. Because no matter how much you try to like uh, stop someone from this, from, let's say, there's one of the most well-known pirated softwares back in the day was, I think, Pirate Bay,
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
remember. Then I
yeah, yeah.
think the owner of that website is in a lot of trouble also,
Hmm.
unfortunately.
Hmm. Hmm.
And uh, but then again, apart from that also, still so many other websites opened up, right, even
Yeah.
after that. So the thing about internet is it opens a wide range of network, where one side of the coin, if you see, there are so many millions of people who have seen this certain movie. But then at the same time uh, like there is the fact that all this, the amount of money that went into making a movie, all
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
that just goes for free. I think
Yeah.
I think that availability, and it's just one click, and the accessibility is so easy. It is
Hmm.
such
Hmm.
easy accessibility, and I think that annoys them, like that would annoy people even more.
Yeah, that's true. Like even if you take a look at art, like certain artwork, certain art pieces, like made in the 1800s, 1900s, even 1700s, for everything, like they have a much more distinct, you know, for many art experts, they find it a lot more distinctive. Like they can understand what that art is.
Mm.
But modern art, I am not really sure about how the paintings can be considered as art. Like many people, they just like, I'm pretty sure like most of the guys have seen, like, they put some string and then they put like a paint, like a paint can or something, and then they just make a hole in there and then they spin it around like on a canvas and it creates like a various design. Those art pieces are called art. I don't know how is it called art, but okay, that's how
Yes,
art has become.
you have heard of that famous artwork of that banana peel.
Yeah, 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 like it
Couple of
got
couple
sold.
of years back, it became yeah, it got sold for a lot of money.
Yeah, like I think about 1 million or maybe more than a million. I
Lot of
think
money, lot of money.
1 to
But yeah,
10, I
it is
guess.
quite surprising. But yeah,
Yeah.
again, good that you brought up artists, because when the internet came, actually, a lot of these artists in the 90s started opening websites. That is another thing. A lot of these people, even in terms of like distribution and stuff, right? Like a lot of people ended up opening their own websites. So let's say like there's the musician out there. They started opening their own websites, and they started like selling their music digitally over there, for some pay. Unfortunately, because of how internet is and how things run, pirated versions of it also started coming out.
Yeah,
That like that can't be. That is the thing. It's like it's a double-edged sword. Like as technology advance, you have this sort of a benefit, but then also this sort of a disadvantage. And artists ended up having these websites, and like online art galleries was stuff were like quite a thing actually. So
exactly.
if there's like a museum where their artwork is shown, instead you have it in online, and a person from another country is able to see their artwork. And now it's very normal. Now it seems very normal. But from the fact that you are sitting in one corner of the world and just you put something out, and another part of the world someone can actually see or stuff. I think at the moment when it came, it would have been a completely new thing.
Yeah, that's true. Now, in the 2000s, like, how did digital media and streaming platforms, transfer the way audience consumed creative content? Like, how did content creators, like, they worked across music, art, and entertainment?
Hmm. S- see the fact that if a movie is is released in theater, I think the fact there was a time where going to the movies, going to theater was almost like a plan, right? It was
Yeah, yeah,
something that, yeah, it was a big plan. It was a big plan where uh, families together going to a theater and going and booking. And before multiplex, single screen theaters were the thing. That's what a lot of people
yeah,
used to go to. But from our generation onwards, it was all multiplex. But I'm
yeah,
talking about like even the the previous generations.
Hmm.
Big, at that time, going to movies and theater was such a thing, and it was a huge thing. And the moment, the people, they stopped showing that movie in the theater, the moment tickets were sold, they
Hmm.
would get people would be really upset that they didn't get to watch. But
Yeah.
then in today's world, people won't get upset because they know a couple of months later that will come on an OTT platform. And
Exactly.
so that's the sort of an I think that's the impact that streaming platforms have had today. That
Hmm.
the from coming from a world where Napster is one of the online websites where they started making putting out music for free.
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Hmm.
uh, and they got into a lot of trouble. Like there was one band that even sued the company because they sold music for free. Not just one band, actually, a couple of musicians sued them for free. Cut to
Hmm.
now, you have Spotify, you have Apple Music, and you have YouTube and Amazon Music as well. You have so
Hmm.
many of these streaming platforms where
Yeah.
artists are putting out their work. And from you know more than these number of albums sold, in today's world, the fact that these many streams matter more.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think the yeah, I think the fact that if an artist has more streams than more albums or something sold, that is a in today's world, that is a much bigger achievement. Like,
Yeah.
you tell this to a music to a listener, and you tell them that more than this album sold, and you tell them that they have like 1 billion streams. The
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
1 billion is a much bigger number than, like, let's say 250 million albums sold. So it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, so I think the fact that today the number of streams has is that count is larger than, like, the number of albums sold. I think that itself tells you like how these streaming platforms have made a huge shift. And one of also again one again like it starts from the internet, where a huge network is created. And
Hmm.
from there to a world like OTT platforms, actually, in the world of like movies and everything, uh, web series, right? I mean,
Yeah.
one of the things that came through OTT platforms was web series and television series.
Hmm.
And you saw like the difference. Like before that, what television was in India then were cut to like web series that are coming now. They are so much better than the television shows that were coming out back in the day.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
think, as like artistically speaking, like the level of opportunities that OTT platforms somewhat opened the doors for a lot of
Hmm.
these other actors also. These actors, back in the day, they were known as like side actors and stuff. They
Hmm. Hmm.
were actors who were not the lead role necessarily, but they were playing the supportive role. They were either the comedic actors, or they were doing whatever, like. And unfortunately, it almost they became like a typecast. They got typecasted into like a certain sort of actor characters.
Hmm.
But the
Hmm.
moment OTT platforms came out, these actors themselves were getting like lead roles in series and movies. And these are like really good actors. I mean, these are actors who are trained in theaters, and they were like very highly skilled actors.
Yeah.
And they ended up getting so much more opportunities because of the OTT platform.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, for someone who romanticizes the whole love of films and everything, it is unfortunate that typecasting existed then.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
then, because a world like OTT platform exists, uh, such opportunities were given to an artists like them. And
Hmm.
also, I think because OTT platform came, like, people started consuming like other cinema as well, like other languages.
Hmm.
Which
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
why, like, I think post like COVID, one of the reasons why, like, all the movies from South India, they're doing much better than they used to before. It used to be
Hmm.
within the own region and the other neighboring the three states. Now people in Bombay, Delhi, and all across India, like, they watch all the Tamil and Malayalam movies.
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
and that became a huge deal because they were there. And also, a lot of them ended up watching a lot of Korean, a lot of Japanese, and all these movies. Before that also, like, when people started having all these pirated websites, they were downloading and watching all movies from different countries. But now, from that to the fact that an OTT a platform, a streaming platform, is created where you have movies from other countries that you can watch, like, legitimately. And there are so many movies that they get introduced to, and because
Hmm.
they get exposed to such sort of movies, what became the mainstream like, stories became the mainstream movies back in 2018-19. Cut to
Hmm,
4 5 years now, they're not working. Like
hmm,
there
hmm.
are people who are trying to make those exact same type of movies, but they're not really working because
Yeah.
of OTT platforms. Because OTT platforms have come, audience have consumed such different sorts of like sorts of movies that they've seen from other language, other region, that that their taste and preference itself has changed.
Hmm,
So
hmm.
I mean, these sort of impact that streaming platforms are having. And also, like, if Spotify was not there, like, I wouldn't have known so many of the music that I ended up discovering, to be very
Yeah, yeah.
honest. And
Hmm, hmm.
although it's very unfortunate that artists do not get enough money, don't get paid for all the effort that they put. But it's
Hmm,
come to a point where you had a generation who are fighting for their music to be out there, being so their music was sold in CDs, and that completely reduced because of internet. Cut to now, like the millennial generation of musicians, lot of them ended up putting out their music on internet,
hmm,
and
hmm.
to the point they just have they've just you know I think they're just fine with the fact that now, when you put it on Spotify, it is just a place where your music is gonna have a reach more than
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
anything. So, which is why eventually they end up, depending on a lot of like shows and tours and putting. Those are the ways they are somewhat trying to generate revenue. But apart from that, making CDs, I think we have evolved to a point where they have understood, it's like an exchange. Okay, we that little bit of money that they were making, that is gone, but instead you're getting a networking, a range of like people that can listen to your music, which if you're not putting out an OTT platform and you're just going to like try sell it with in Bangalore, like it's going to be beyond difficulty that like people within the city might have heard your music.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
So I think that's sort of an advantage that it has, but then also it becomes like a disadvantage. The fact that you're putting all this effort and it's all going out there for free. But I think the world, like artists and the world, has somewhat accepted this sort of a disadvantage, but also have seen the advantage of it.
Yeah, like even if we talk about movies, like we can take movies from early 90s, early 80s, and we can see the whole difference between the quality of the video, the acting, and even like the certain dialogues. Like now, if we take a look at dialogues in certain movies, like they are more open to the use of language, use of various lines, kind of. But at that time, they knew exactly like who they are not supposed to say things to, compared to now.
Hmm.
And like even the quality of the video, it's completely evolved with the use of technology. Like various cameras have come in, various
Hmm.
lighting have come in, and
Hmm.
even like a scene that takes like about 15 seconds, like earlier they used to take like hours to get that 15 seconds of clip. Now they can just do it like very easily.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah.
Like editing, like cutting a
Hmm,
film then versus now, the fact that you can do that in your
exactly.
phone. You can do
Yeah.
that in your phone. It's crazy that you can do that in your phone now. You can,
Exactly.
like, there are people, like there are some YouTubers who actually edit their
Hmm.
podcast episode, they're editing through iPhone. Can
Yeah.
you can you believe it that today you're living in a world where you can edit an entire podcast episode through your phone? So so as technology advances, that sort of an accessibility that is available
Hmm,
is a benefit. But again, obviously, that you're using in your phone, you can't compare that to like a really high studio level sort of an editing software that industries use.
exactly.
But still, it does the job. That's
Yeah.
more than enough. So it's a tool that does the job. But
Yeah.
also, like for me, like personally, there's so many like movies that I ended up discovering. I don't think I would have discovered them, if internet or streaming platforms didn't exist.
Yeah. Now, my final question is, now, how is AI and modern technology in the 20s, like 2020s, changing
Yeah.
like creative like usage across like various fields? Like you can take music, you can take visual arts, entertainment, and like what opportunities and challenges does this bring?
I think AI is the biggest thing that's happened ever since internet. I think we both have discussed this multiple times.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is the biggest thing that's ever happened, like since internet. And
Hmm,
when the moment internet came, really, it it really disturbed a lot of like people, that because the moment internet came, jobs were taken, all people lost jobs, you can't
Mm.
deny that. People
Yeah.
lost jobs, like artists were not were financially a lot of money was going, and the fact that
Mhm.
all this effort was gone into making a movie was just there out there for free, all this came. So that
Mhm.
did take a big toll, that was a big hit. That coming that to evolving and accepting the fact that this is how, internet has that accessibility, it has that wide range of network, it has that
Mm.
advantage but that disadvantage, and they've accepted that sort of the fact that internet is this way. Now AI is also, we are all going through that phase again. With
Mhm.
AI coming, people are losing jobs much more than, like, even like when internet came people lost jobs. I think
Yeah.
people are losing even more jobs now because of AI.
Mhm.
And and again, when it comes to art, I mean, it's pretty crazy that without a musician, without a software, without a studio, without a producer, without writing a song, you can just use AI and just use text prompts and come up with music. It's
Yeah.
pretty, yeah. And I mean, that's the how much it's advanced today, right? You don't even need to know how to make music. You can just type what kind of music you want. It's basically what you're googling. You're getting, write that with better English with a prompt with more details, you're
Mhm.
gonna get us, an AI can generate a song and give you. And
Mhm.
and you can and YouTube and a lot of these other places, like they have actually, like they have these AI generated songs, and they sound so legit. They sound like music that has been recorded in a studio and full-fledged production. It sounds so legit that you will believe it. But
Yeah.
it's come to a point where people are really like questioning how AI is, uh, when you listen to him, you watch a video also, you're getting confused,
Mm.
is it real or is it AI? you know
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that AI is confusing you so much that you don't know if it's fake or real, I think
Mhm.
that itself has become, a big change. And I think in the world of social media especially, AI has become a big thing. One of the biggest things the internet did was memes, right? I mean,
Mhm.
memes, the whole culture of memes that came out was because of thanks to something like internet came. So
Yeah.
thanks to something like Facebook came, that people were able to get in touch and connect with people. So those
Mm.
advantages internet has had. And in AI, just like how a meme culture sort of a thing came, people are generating funny videos, which
Exactly.
I'm not gonna lie, it is really funny to watch all these videos. They
Mhm.
actually make a very good job. And some of them are really coming up with some very creative videos, like
Mhm.
but it's very sad that they're just using text prompts, and AI is just generating all these stuff. It looks creative enough, but
Mhm.
it is so fun to watch at the same time, like it's although I don't like it, but then at the same time it's like I'm a victim of those sort of like a consumption as well. like uh,
Mhm.
like yesterday I was watching this one video where it was Michelangelo, the painter Michelangelo. You know that
Mhm.
what's that Sistine Chapel? I'm not very sure. I think that's what the
Okay.
chapel is called. So
Mhm.
it's the whole. He has painted the entire chapel. So the ceiling and the where he has
Mm.
painted the ceiling and the wall and everything. It
Mhm.
took him many years to actually paint that. and
Mhm.
uh, and there is an AI generated video where it's like showing Michelangelo is on that ladder on that ceiling with a paintbrush and he's painting. And and it, do- it and it doesn't even look like animated or anything. It looks like a proper, it's like
Yeah.
it's like someone
Mhm.
climbed up the ladder, took their camera and recorded Michelangelo painting in 2025. It looks that legit.
Mhm.
And and it's and it's pretty crazy that people are coming up with such, it's weirdly very creative, and it's so weird to, it's also very fun to watch these sort of a thing. But then at the same time, there are people who also put a lot, who apart from the AI, they try to come up with very interesting, they try to come up with such sort of an interesting content as well through other art forms.
Mhm.
And AI is just doing that for free. I think that's why it annoys people. The fact that, this level of effort and everything that is gone through, to make an art form work out, and everything is done that for free. I mean, today there are AI. there are softwares which use AI to make Instagram shots and reels.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
can basically just put whichever clip you want, and through AI it's gonna make that shots.
Hmm.
And for an editor to do that, it takes that editor roughly like 4 to 5 hours to make that. Like a
Hmm.
30 to 30 seconds to 1 minute reel, it takes them that long. AI
Hmm.
does that just in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
So here the sad part in this is, as a consumer, this is an accessibility they're getting, that they didn't get before. So for the
Hmm.
amount, so when there is AI which is much cheaper and they can get a video ready, versus paying an editor this much amount of money and getting a video or a shots ready, when
Hmm.
this is much cheaper and the work is getting done faster, obviously they're going to go for that.
Yeah.
Going for that. So from a consumer standpoint, I can understand why people will go towards that sort of a world. But
Hmm.
also then I think, as artists, it's going the biggest challenge is, with all this coming, what can you offer that even AI, that either AI can't do, or you have to infuse AI into your own art form and create something that is going to be completely new or completely different. The
Yeah.
fact, like, people can use AI. I mean, like, there are people in the hospital industry who are using AI. Like, they use AI
Hmm.
to even pacemaker, right? People
Hmm.
use AI for even when make for when they're making the pacemaker. So
Oh,
people
okay.
are, and so the it's very technologically advanced and it is very helpful. And even in like all these editing softwares, and not just editing softwares, Adobe and all the Photoshop and all these illustrators also, they have a lot of these AI features. So
Hmm.
some simple detail work that would take hours for a designer, AI, thanks to AI, it you can do that much work in just 5% of the time. So
Hmm.
the I think in your research or in your as a tool to, within your process of whatever you're making, AI can be very helpful. But unfortunately, it is something that can be used as the main tool itself. And that is the danger of AI. That is far more dangerous than internet or anything that we have seen so far. And yeah, also, before we end it, like, because of streaming platforms, like world, like for artists especially, like from internet had like art galleries and online galleries. Cut to 2000s, Adobe softwares, like digital software started coming, right? Photoshop and
Hmm.
everything.
Yeah.
So digital art became a thing. And
Hmm.
that and a lot of the original authentic artists who all drew, used paint brushes and drew everything, for them digital art was not something they would like to do.
Hmm.
And from that to now, you can literally text prompt and come up with artwork. And I mean, look at it, like, paint and brushes and water and all that to make one painting, to cut to a digital world where work gets much easier, neater and simpler. Cut to like, now text prompts where you can just text prompt and in 2 seconds a picture is generated for you.
Hmm.
That's how much technologically advanced it's become. It's scary, but then at the same time, we have to learn and adapt as well.
Yeah, that's true. And with that being said, that officially brings us to the end of today's show. A huge thank you to Johan for joining today's show.
Thank you for calling me.
Thank you so much. And remember, guys, we air on Mondays at 5:30. Sorry, 4:30 p.m. That said, if you guys have any questions or just want to tell us what an amazing job we're doing, you can reach out to us at 6364252164. And a huge thank you to our listeners for tuning into this edition of the Reality Bang, your weekly dose of view power, brought to you by FIBA Online. This is RJ Johan. Hope you have an amazing week, and I'll see you next Monday. God bless you.